up, everybody? And here we are at special Thursday night Art and Stuff show. Shout out to Sean. Joining me is Mark Poulton and Mike McMahon, as you have seen on this channel here for the last few weeks. And we are specifically talking about the launch of USAssassin tomorrow. Am I correct on that, guys? I'm gonna let you take over the show and just do your thing. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we're launching. It's a second chance campaign. We're going to launch at 6 p.m. Eastern time. A lot of people already have the book. It was the $170,000 stretch goal for Graveyard Shift Volume 2. So everyone who's been receiving their package the last couple weeks have been getting USAssassin. So if there's anyone out there who maybe got Graveyard Shift through the variant campaign, the Andrew Huerta cover, they didn't get USAssassin. So maybe they're interested. Maybe they want to get it. I'm betting on it. Got 300 copies that we're offering up. So we'll see. We launch tomorrow.
What up, Tomic? How you doing? Good. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, man. I have to say, it took. I actually didn't think I was going to get the entire campaign there for a second, because I could track the order, and I live in Michigan, which is not too far from where John mailed everything.
Yeah.
But for some reason, my package went all the way to Pittsburgh.
That's where mine's at.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck? I was supposed to get it in 2 days, and it took a week to get it. I was like, man, I'm gonna have to call or do something because they lost it. It's buried in Pittsburgh somewhere. But finally showed up, and first of all, the entire campaign, Mark, I was just telling you this, Graveyard Shift. That's the first time I got to read it, and I got both books and read it. And, awesome story. Love that shit. I can't wait for book 3 to come out. But then I was really excited about this, obviously, because of Mike coming on and chilling with us. I've been wanting to read this. I haven't finished it yet. It's pretty long. But the art is awesome. The story is great. I love the vibe you guys got going with it. So I would encourage everybody that did not get it as a supplemental book and the Graveyard Shift campaign to definitely go on. You said it's a limited, right? Limited amount of copies.
Yeah, we only have 300 copies available. Oh, so yeah, if you want to, you have to act now. One cool thing, so the people that got it with Graveyard Shift, it didn't come signed by us. This version will come with a book plate signed by me, Mike, and my son Chase, who created a couple of the characters in the book.
Yep.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Lots of extra goodies too.
Yeah. So if we have stretch goals like every big campaign. One of the cool things with Graveyard Shift, all the stretch goals, trading cards, prints. This same with Sea Dog. We did foil trading cards. Just lots of fun stuff. So we're going to offer the same thing with USAssassin. We got trading cards, mini prints. If we sell out, we got a really surprise for all the backers, which I think is pretty awesome. And shout out to Mike, because he's the one who's going to be offering this up. So I don't want to.
My poor hand. My poor hand.
You double jointed or something? Holy shit! What did you do to yourself?
Don't ask.
That's an interesting trick. Freaked me out there for a second. So you guys, this is launching tomorrow at 6. Then, huh? You doing just a normal 30-day campaign, or?
So it's set for 30, and then we'll see after our first 30 how it goes. That's the one great thing about Indiegogo. If you can get in there before it ends, you can adjust the time. So we'll see how it plays out.
I have no doubt.
I would love for it to end before 30 days, to be honest.
Oh yeah. I think it will, especially being a limited amount of copies like it is. That's kind of unique to a lot of campaigns, because most time it's just come in and get it, and we'll fulfill it and ship it. You guys have a limited amount of 300. I definitely think that will fulfill. I would assume it would go probably fairly fast, in my opinion.
Yeah, fingers crossed. The cool thing about this campaign is once this is over, roll into volume 2 because Mike's done all the artwork. So, US Assassin isn't a one and done thing. Mike and I have big plans for this. We have it mapped out to volume 5. So,
Oh, wow.
I mean, yeah, jump on board volume 1 if you missed out.
See, you think this is bad? Just by the time volume 5, it's going to be like a stump. Like, where's my drawing stump?
I don't know if I can keep looking at that, man. Put that shit away. No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I knew with Mike being co-host on the Art and Stuff show for a while, we've talked quite a bit about it, and we knew that he was that you guys had plans for 3. I didn't know you guys had plans for 5. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It looks like it's all coming together. If it does, I think it'll be a pretty big thing because volume 5 is just
huge.
Yeah, huge. I don't know how else to say it, but yeah, it'll be a big deal.
Merely ginormous.
Yeah.
Now, the first book is 80 pages, right?
Yeah.
Is the second book going to be 80 pages too, or are you guys more or less?
50 pages of story.
Yeah, so we did 80 pages. Originally, we were going to release it like as 3 separate volumes. I mean, 3 separate issues. And then, just the way like crowdfunding's going, it just makes more sense to do a complete story. So we bundled them all up, to do the graphic novel. When I wrote volume 2, it worked out to be 50 pages. And it's just what the story dictated. I think the same with volume 3 is going to be about 50 pages. I'll take it story by story. But volume 1, yeah, it was massive. Out of all the Graveyard Shift books, it was the biggest one, and it was the book that was free.
Yeah,
drawn by the biggest artist. physically biggest. I'm not saying that I'm bigger than John. Physically, I'm bigger.
I mean, page-wise, you probably did the most, Mike, because you did the Graveyard Shift Lone Star story too.
Yeah, I mean, like this thing, that's thick, and that was one of the cool things with this book is that it was just gigantic, and it was a book that you got for free. So I mean, like that was a hell of a stretch goal and a cool thing for that campaign to throw in there. And I definitely think it's awesome that you guys are going to do an actual campaign because I think this is something that should be campaigned and people should get a chance to read it if you hadn't already.
Yeah, that last day of the Graveyard Shift campaign, it was pretty exciting. Like we were maybe $35,000 away from the goal. Yeah. And
wow.
everyone was messaging me and was like, "Oh, are you going to just do a Indiegogo campaign for US Assassin?" I was like, "It's not over yet." And they're like, "Yeah, but you're $35,000 away." And I was like, "Just wait. Let's wait till it runs out." And that was like one of the most exciting nights. You just kept seeing every time you hit refresh, it just kept getting bigger and bigger. I was like, "Oh my God, we're going to do this." So yeah, I mean, I'm super happy we could give this to people for free. I mean, it's a big gamble on Mike and my part because, we put years of work into this, especially Mike, and Mike was cool with us giving it away for free. But like a drug dealer, the first hit is free. Volume 2 is going to cost you.
Pull you in.
Yeah, hopefully we get you hooked.
Hey JoJo, thank you for checking this out.
Hey JoJo.
As always, great supporter of the Art and Stuff show. JoJo, thank you so much. It was a great way to get eyes on it because that there was a lot of people getting the Graveyard Shift campaign. So it was kind of a little bit of a gamble, I would say, I guess, to put the book on there because it is such a big book and such a giant labor of love. But to get all the promotion and the extra eyes on it, like myself, like it was. I didn't know anything about it until it was announced, and I read it. I loved it. I'm gonna do my best to back if I can get into the 300. I'll do my best to grab one of those so I can get one signed. I get one signed, not open. I'll just set it aside as a collector's item.
It's crazy. Like a lot of people, like once they back a book, they don't really follow the updates or anything. So I'm watching unboxing videos, and a lot of people don't even know what the book is. They're like, they're surprised that they're getting a free book. I watched your boy Zach's unboxing video, and he had no idea that it was coming with USAssassin. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, I think he said, what was it, like, I bought one and I got three.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, and it was a great deal for that campaign because of that. And all the other extras that John threw in there, but that really was whoever backed that campaign, whatever they spent, got their money's worth.
Yeah.
Because all the amount of pages they got was incredible, and that's one of the cool things about campaigns and doing projects like that is you get. And I think Mark, when you were on the show a couple weeks back, we talked about this, that you spend your $20 or $25 or whatever it is going to be for the book. A lot of times you get a ton of extra stuff. So in the long run, when you invest this money into a project like this, you get back well over what your $25 would have purchased. So that's, I think the whole Indiegogo campaigns, whether it's Comicsgate or Independence, whatever, it doesn't really matter. It's just you get a lot for your buck, and I think it's definitely an awesome thing for everybody to check out. Don't be surprised, don't get scared off of the $25 or whatever, because I know that sometimes that even affects me. It takes me a second to grab a book, but when I do, I know I'm going to get a shit ton of stuff in return.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I feel like you're getting your money's worth, but I know for some people that $25 for a book. I mean, it's not like these are a single issue floppy. All the books I do have, the square bound spine. It's got the nice cardstock cover. I always go for the thickest paper, so I try to give people the value for their buck, and once we start hitting those goals, you're getting even more, trading cards, the prints, foil cards. So I've become a big trading card guy now through all these campaigns. I just love making them. I don't know if you saw, but I posted, like, I bought a frame for all my cards that I've released over the last year. So.
Yeah, those are becoming big for a lot of people, the trading cards. I think it's cool just for the extras that you get in that, but that has definitely become like one of those collector items. I've noticed a lot of campaigns, that's one of the first things they do is have multiple trading cards, whether it's like foil or whatever. And I think that's a good idea.
It's all us 90s collectors, fans. Now that we're making books, we want to bring back the cool stuff that we had when we were kids. So we're doing trading cards, chromium covers, foil embossed covers, whatever, hockey jerseys.
That's right.
Right, yeah.
I'm excited about that. Yeah, there you go.
What's going on, brother? Jesse's a cool dude. He's a lead singer. Damn it. I was going to... Choke Setter, the band. Man, I'm a horrible fucking friend. Check out Choke Setter. And Jesse's a badass lead singer, and I should know because I was a lead singer too, and I played with him quite a bit. But $25 isn't going to break my heart paying $25, and that is a great attitude to have. And really, I mean, when you think about it,
of a mainstream trade paperback. I mean, you spend $25 at Marvel or DC, and we're not going to, stick our finger in your nose and go, no, you're wrong. Don't buy my shit.
Well, I was just going to say, I'll go and spend like $22 just for my family to go eat at McDonald's. So if you can do that, you can spend $25 and go get a fucking comic book. So
starve your children, and buy USAssassin. Your kids don't need food; they need comics. Come on.
What's up, brother? Thank you for checking out the show. I would try to attempt to pronounce that name, but I would fuck it up royally. So just know that I know that you're appreciated. And maybe message me and just break it down, like how to pronounce your name.
Phonetically.
And I will try to do it because I will butcher it.
We have the Hooked on Phonics version of your name.
we need that. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, this was... I mean, I gush and I go on and on about how awesome it was that Mark and John did this. That, it was after I did the 20 pages for the supplemental, and Mark and I were trying to figure out, what we were going to do with USAssassin, and then I get this message and they're like, hey, what do you think about it being a stretch goal? And I was just like, what? You know? And I just like, it floored me because, I mean, yeah, these guys are my friends, but they also had enough, I think, faith in what we did, what Mark and I did, that they felt it would be worthwhile to print it as good as every other Graveyard Shift book. I mean, this is high quality paper, coloring by Andrew Dahlhaus.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that. Yep.
Eric Weathers letters. I mean, I have never looked so good. I'll tell you that. But for them to put their faith in the book it means a lot to me because they wanted it to get to as many people as possible, and it's very possible that we would not have reached that many people if we had just launched it on our own. I mean, we might have, because Mark is part of Graveyard Shift, so he pulls in that crowd. But I mean, I am forever thankful for them doing that, and I can honestly say the last night of the campaign is a memory that will stay in my mind forever through Alzheimer's, because I was sitting there going, oh God, we're not gonna make it. And then like 1 o'clock in the morning, you hear something like that. I was like 176. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
So that brings up. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
I was just gonna say, Mike's kind of like the unofficial third member of Graveyard Shift. Like he's been like, he's known about this since like its inception. When John and I released the Graveyard Shift Ash Can back in 2011, Mike was right there with us.
Nice.
The only other people who knew about the books were, Sean, your co-host, and Rob Liefeld. So it was just it was a small group of people, and Mike
to be a part of. I'll say that.
I'm happy being the Pete Best of the Graveyard Shift crew.
So I was going to say, so whose idea was it to make the supplemental book for the project? And like Mike was saying, I didn't even think about that to get that book printed and put out there, that was all based on how much Graveyard Shift brought in. So I didn't even think about that till you mentioned that, Mike, that was how the book looks so nice, is because that was the avenue to make it that way. So was that John, Mark, or was that you, or is it a collective?
So I forget when John and I were, I think while we were signing Volume 1 books, John and I were talking about the second campaign, and we were trying to decide what would be like the stretch goal, and we wanted something big. And I think it was John who said, well, what do you think about USAssassin being the stretch goal? And I was like the first issue, and he was like, no, like the whole book. How many pages in it? I said it's 80, and he was like, yeah, let's do that if Mike's okay with it. And I was like, well, I'll ask him, because I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm part of Graveyard Shift, so if Graveyard Shift does great, that's great for me. But Mike spent years working on USAssassin, so to give that up as a freebie to the Graveyard Shift fans is very big of him. So I mean, yeah. I thought it would be a good thing for us, because it would expose the book to a huge audience, and we sacrificed Volume 1 for a bigger return on Volume 2, Volume 3. So I think while we were signing, I reached out to Mike and said, we have this idea.
I mean, and that's, honestly, to me, I think that's a great business move when you look at these campaigns. If you can attach yourself, and obviously, Mark, you already attached to Graveyard Shift, but if you can find yourself attached to one of these bigger name campaigns where it's going to bring in that over $100,000 money, and your book can be part of that as a stretch goal, you're definitely going to get your eyes or the book noticed by a bunch of different people, and that hopefully that's going to open up a brand new audience, and you're going to see that book pop up and get all that publicity on like John's channel or Ethan's channel when they were doing the the stretch goals and all that kind of stuff. So I think actually it was a brilliant move. And Mike, it was definitely, I can understand where everyone's coming from, because like that was, I mean, that's a big book. That's a lot of work just to put up there and take that chance to throw it up there for free. So, but
standing on the backs of giants, man.
I was just gonna say, yeah. I mean, you knew it was gonna pay off. It's definitely gonna pay off, especially once they had that final push. I mean, that's really cool of John to do that. Honestly, like that's for John to even think about that and throw that in there as a stretch goal. That just shows you what kind of dude that he is.
Yeah, I mean, the three of us have been friends for so long. I think John just wanted to set Mike up to hopefully like have his own thing, like John and I have Graveyard Shift.
Yeah.
Mike will have USAssassin with me, but but yeah, Mike will have his thing.
I might have to turn my camera off, you guys.
Just let it out, man. Just let it out. That's what we're here for. Real quick, I was talking to Sean earlier, and for everybody that doesn't know, Sean Ahrendt, who is my co-host here in the At and Stuff show, and he just wanted for me to express how grateful he was and how much love he had for you guys, the opportunity to be involved in USAssassin. And just he wanted me to make sure that I shared his love and appreciation with everything. And if people didn't know, Sean did additional gray tones on this book, and he did this really, where's it at? Bear with me, people. All right. If I can just make me the center of attention for a second, because I love that. He did this awesome pinup. Where's it? Where's my camera at? Yep. Right here. There we go. Get in focus. Yeah, that's Sean's art right here. Oh, right here.
Nope, other side.
Sean's art right, yeah. I'm all reversed here, but that's Sean's art right there. He did a fantastic job on that pinup. Looks awesome. So, he definitely had fun contributing to that book. And I just wanted me to make sure that he let you guys know how much he loved and appreciated the opportunity.
Yeah, no, we love Sean. He's like I said, he's been with us since the beginning.
Yeah.
He helped me box up the first volume of Graveyard Shift and send it out to people. Yeah, he's my best friend, man. He's been with us from the beginning, and I'd love that we were able to get him some work on USAssassin.
Yeah, that is definitely awesome. Marco, man, if Canon Films were around today, they would have USAssassins. Yeah, right. They make it badass.
Well, the whole thing is, Marco's my boy. I've known him for a while. We share the same love of 90s comics and Canon Films. The whole USAssassin, it's based off my love of the American Ninja films. Yep. Michael Dudikoff's my guy. Some people might consider him like the B-list action hero, but they're wrong. He was the best. He was better than Van Damme, better than Arnold, better than Stallone. He was the James Dean of action. He was so cool. And I just fell in love with the American Ninja. And I thought to myself, if American Ninja was around today, what would he be doing? Would he still be doing crazy missions? So I kind of wrote like the Dark Knight story for American Ninja, where he retires, but he has to come out of retirement for one more mission. But then I fell in love writing with the character. So one mission turned into a series of books.
That's an awesome.
Back to whoop some ass.
Yeah. And what kid doesn't grow up wanting to be a ninja? I mean, yeah. I remember when I was younger, American Ninja, I can't remember how old I was, but when I first saw that, but I was young, when it first came out. But I loved it because, you dress up like a ninja, go kick some fucking ass. I mean, anything that had ninjas in it when I was a kid, I was all about. Obviously Ninja Turtles, American Ninja, Three Ninjas. What is it? Yeah, that kid show. Yeah, three. I mean, yeah. So ninjas are where it's at.
Yeah, I tried.
Go ahead.
I tried to reach out to Michael Dudikoff to get him involved, but he didn't return my email.
That would have been cool though.
He's probably like, oh man, is this another American Ninja sequel?
Yeah, how many movies did they make of that?
Was it 5?
They made 5. He's in 3 of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember at least 3. I don't know if I saw all 5. I remember the first one very well.
Yeah, first and second one. Second one, they had the genetically engineered ninjas.
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
Yeah, I love that one. I love the chemistry. It's so sad because I love the movie, but I can't remember his buddy's name.
The actor is Steve James.
Yeah, I love their chemistry together because Dudikoff plays it very straight, very I'm the American Ninja, and you got his buddy who's kind of not comic relief, but I mean he's a regular guy, who's just kind of like, well, I'm gonna whoop some ass with you,
Yeah.
And I love those movies. I was disappointed when I think it was the third one was the first one Dudikoff wasn't in, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was like 3 and 4. He came back for 5.
He wasn't in 3. He came back for 4, and then 5 is just some movie that they stuck the American Ninja name on.
Studios, they'll just throw the name out there and see if they can capitalize on it and make some money.
Canon Films. Yeah, wasn't that one of George Corman's companies?
No, Canon was like these 2 Greek.
That's right.
Billionaires or millionaires. They've done a couple documentaries on them. If you ever watch them, they're fascinating. That all these movies.
One.
Yeah. The one documentary is called Electric Boogaloo, and it's about Canon Films. It's great. And it's just like they would start advertising movies before it even existed. Like American Ninja, they put out advertisements in newspapers and magazines starring Chuck Norris. And
oh, really?
Yeah, and then Chuck Norris found out he'd have to be a ninja and wear a mask, and he was like, I don't want to be in this. So so they put out a casting call, and that's how they got Michael Dudikoff.
And I remember they kept promising him like they were going to make him like this next big thing, and they just kind of I think wasn't there something in that documentary where they promised him the world, and they kind of gave him like Camden.
I can't remember the exact specifics of it,
because he was basically like James Dean. He had that look, he had that kind of that's what everyone was like hyping him up to be, was the next James Dean. And
there was talks that he was going to be Spider-Man when Canon had the rights to Spider-Man. When they got the rights to Superman, there was even talk they were going to recast Superman and have Dudikoff as Superman, which is like mind blowing.
Yeah, way better choice than Nick Cage.
Well, I had no idea that Canon had those properties at one time.
Yeah, like I guess the Quest for Peace or whatever was a Canon film, and the one with Richard Pryor. Yeah.
The only reason that 4 got made was Christopher Reeve wanted a specific script about nuclear power and stuff like that, and he said he's like, the only way I'm coming back is if we do this story, and he had like a couple of caveats, I guess is what I heard, for him to even do that.
Yeah, this should have stopped after 2. Superman and Superman 2, I think, were the best out of all of them.
They should have let Richard Donner finish 2. That's my thoughts.
I was just going to say that. I watched a documentary about that. Yeah. I wish that they had, because what 2 sounded like it would have been really cool if they didn't kind of run Donner out.
There's a Donner cut of Superman 2.
I've heard that.
It doesn't have, of course, there's still some of the other director, I think, in it, but there's certain shots that are different. Because I have it somewhere.
I've never seen it. I've heard about it though.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's definitely a different take, less campy, haha. I think, if I remember correctly, they take away the the big foil S throw, because I think Richard Donner thought that was ridiculous. If I remember right, because I've seen there's a documentary that goes along with like a long time ago. It used to be like $100. Now you can get it for like $5. But it was like all the Superman movies up to Superman Returns, and it had a documentary in it. Gosh, what was it called? I can't remember what the documentary is called. Anyway, but they talked to Richard Donner. They talked to all the surviving actors. They used footage or old interviews with Christopher Reeve and talk about the process and stuff like that, and just the stuff that they could have done if they would have just let Richard Donner alone. I don't know.
I just want to say those movies Marco suggested, those are great. I've seen them both.
Yeah.
Ninja Shadow of a Tear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Jesse, my friend Jesse Mall, just messaged me. He was asking how he gets this book, and I'll say just real quick so everyone knows that I'm not a part of this book. I'm hosting the show, but I have bought the book and I love it, so I recommend that you get it. But where, again, for anybody that might be joining this late, Mark, you want to reiterate where people can find this book and why the show is happening tonight?
Sure. Tomorrow we launch our campaign on Indiegogo. There's actually like a sign up page right now for Indiegogo. You can sign up for our mailing list, and you'll find out when it launches, so you don't miss out. But yeah, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll go live. You can back the book. It's $25. It comes with a book plate signed by me, Mike, my son Chase, and then, right before you're about to, pay, you have an option to add different add-on items to your cart, and it's anything from a head sketch from Mike, original page of art from Mike, an original splash page, an original double page splash, a USAssassin hockey jersey with your name and number on the back. Yep, and I think that's everything. Yep. So yeah, so lots of cool things to add on. So I mean, if you just want the book, we have that for you. But if you really want to, immerse yourself in USAssassin, there's all sorts of cool stuff you can get for yourself.
Are you guys gonna be doing more original pages than just selling more original pages than just a few of the splashes, or?
Yeah, there's
yeah,
Mike put up, he offered up 12 interior pages, and then I believe it's 5 splash pages and 3 double page spreads.
Yep.
So there's a good chunk of original art being offered up for people.
Nice.
I have a couple pages myself, so I'm a fan.
Oh. And Chase has quite a few too.
Yeah.
Even from volume 2, and it's not even out yet.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Especially if we do the sellout and everyone gets the special gift add-on. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be neat, and I'm excited to see how people react to it. I know there are tons of people posting their Graveyard Shift 2 openings, their boxes. I watched the videos, and I checked Mark's Twitter for retweets and comments on people's posts, and just seeing USAssassin with the rest of that greatness is a real kick for me. And hopefully if we can build this and we can get, I'm not gonna say we can get to Graveyard Shift level, but I mean, if we did, I would totally love to be able to do what Mark and John did for me and pay it forward. I mean, it was a huge risk on their part, a huge financial burden on those guys. So it'd be nice to be able to, do that for somebody else too someday.
And I think that I think everybody's got a chance to do big campaigns like that. I think it's just getting the following, making sure it's a great product, which it is. So I mean, anybody that's into entertaining books and really good art is going to want to read this. And I think that's what's awesome about the Indiegogo or the independent, the Comicscape community and all that, is that that's what they're giving you. You guys are really putting something together for fans that like good action style, 90s or whatever you want to call it, but just good story, good action, just fun books, And I think if you're doing that, people are going to get a following, and I think you're going to keep on going. You got 5 books planned. At some point, I think you guys are going to get up there, in that status category. So that's what I'm predicting.
Well, I think the great thing for Mike and I is, we already have like volume 2 in the bag, so we can show people that, once the campaign's over, we're turning these books over and getting them in their hands pretty quick. I think that'll go a long way to building some trust and building an audience.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the unique things Mark and I was talking about, is that this isn't going to be a book that you're going to have to wait like one a year. So book 5 is not going to come out in 2024 or something like that. It's going to be, you're going to turn it around as fast as you can, which I think is going to be unique compared to a lot of other campaigns. So I think you already have a head start there that you can actually build that excitement and then deliver on it faster than some of the other campaigns.
Yeah, ideally, I'd love to do 2 USAssassin books a year. I don't know. Mike's hand is going to be.
You gotta show us your hand.
Start crawling with his other hands.
Oh God! Why?
You need to take a break.
That just reminds me of that. I had tagged Mark a couple years ago in a post where somebody did a cartoon where there's a writer and an artist at a convention, and the writer's like, "Yeah, it doesn't take me but 5 minutes to type out." And then the armada's engaged in a epic battle, and then you see the artist jumping over trying to stab the writer, like, "You dirty."
Jesse said, "So stoked. I would definitely be supporting if Joe's supporting, and I'm confident it's stellar and well worth it. Good luck, gentlemen." Thank you, Jesse. That really means a lot to all of us, and that is really cool, brother. I appreciate that.
Yeah, speaking on what Mike just said, when I flew out to Michigan to sign all the Graveyard Shift, I think I wrote a majority of volume 3 just like on my plane, my short 2-hour flight, and I wrote some pretty big stuff for Mike to draw. So
it was funny because like I think I had posted page 50's done of volume 2, and then like. It wasn't even like an hour later. It's like, ding, here's some pages for volume 3. And I was like, oh, all right.
So here's the thing. Like, Mike has grown so much as an artist from volume 1 to then like Graveyard Shift Lone Star. No, knock it off, Mike. and volume 2 is like amazing. He has so much confidence right now. I just want to keep it going. So I'm just handing him script after script just to keep the momentum going.
Oh, it's good you guys have a relationship like that, and it can really build off of that, because that was one thing we were talking about with Mike when we had Rob Willis on a couple weeks back, and we were just talking about the growth of an artist when you're doing these campaigns, especially like these longer page books, like 80 pages for USAssassin, and I can't remember what Shinobi Sasquatch was, but just the growth you're going to see in the artist from the beginning to the end, and then moving forward. I'm really excited to see, because I haven't seen any of the pages that Mike's done for book 2, but I really like what I've seen in book 1. So I'm really excited to see where you're taking your artistic style, your page layout. Those are the things that, as an artist, that interest me a lot. So I look at what, like, Mike specifically. Reading the book's been great, Mark. Don't get me wrong. The story's been awesome.
Right.
But, like, I dive into the art, I dive into the page layout, how panels are done, and Mike and I have talked quite a bit about page dynamic and stuff, and I've really enjoyed, Mike, how you laid things out in this book. So I'm extremely excited to see the progression in the book 2 when you guys get there.
Yeah, I know in volume 1 I tried to not just have like the double page spreads have like interesting layouts, because I was kind of catching myself where I was like, boom, 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 dun, 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 dun. And I was like, wait a minute, I gotta spice this up more. I gotta pull the all the rabbits out of the hat that I can, to make it more exciting. Because I like Mark said, I'm more confident now, but I don't think when I was in the midst of volume 1, I was super confident. So I was wanting to, I feel like volume 2, I'm running on all cylinders, and it's very consistent throughout, because I had 80 pages of volume 1, the 20 pages of the supplemental for Graveyard Shift, which was on a deadline. And that kind of helped me streamline, I think, not so much my process, but it helped me streamline the useless nonsense that goes on in an artist's head, where you're like, well, maybe not, maybe, I've been guilty of totally redrawing complete pages from scratch, which I actually did for volume 3 already, but anyway. But I think it helped, kind of help get into that, that last gear. And, everything is penciled and inked by me in volume 2. I'm more comfortable with the consistency, because it was also done in a shorter time. I think volume 1 was almost 3 years, or was it 3 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then this volume 2 was less than a year, because I think I got the first script in, was it July last year? Maybe June or July, and then I finished it in May. So hopefully I can keep that speed up and keep increasing it. But
that's awesome.
Keep the quality up. From the sounds of it, I'm going to be having quite a lot of time off from work here soon, just because orders are down. So we're going to get paid to stay home. So I'm going to draw.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
But yeah, I think people, I don't know how to word it without sounding bad, but I think if you close volume 1 satisfied, you're going to be more than pleasantly surprised when you open volume 2, because it's just it literally starts off, boom, you're in the middle of something. It's I say it a lot. I compare it to Lethal Weapon 2. Like Lethal Weapon 1 opens up, it sets up the story and the characters, stuff like that. And Lethal Weapon 2, boom, Riggs is running in cowboy boots after a car. So you're like, oh, all right, here we go. And that's kind of like what volume 2 is. It's like, boom, here we go. And I think for people who are yearning for entertainment and not political nonsense, political correctness, comics are entertainment. They're fun. They're exciting. They're energetic. The stories are supposed to appeal to everybody, and we are going to more than deliver on that. And if you are a fan of the fun feeling that you had watching American Ninja when you were a kid, or if you're a kid now and you've watched it and you walk away with that feeling of like, wow, I just watched something I don't think I'd have ever seen from anywhere else. That's what we're trying to go for, is we're trying to give you that feeling of a modern nostalgia, where it's like you can tell where it came from, but it's fresh. So I'm rambling, and I'm going to stop because Mark's the wordsmith. Oops, over there, and I'm going to let him talk.
I like to say the books I write, they won't make you think, but they'll make you feel. They'll make you feel nostalgic for like the stuff you loved as a kid. They'll make you excited. You'll remember. I write books for the people that still have that sense of wonder when they collected the books when they were little. The greatest message you'll find in my books is good guys punch bad guys in faces. But
lots of them.
But like going back with like the confidence Mike found while after he finished up volume 1, I think like almost the same is true for me, because I think by the end of volume 1 I figured out what USAssassin should be, and I feel like volume 2 is even better than volume 1, and then volume 3 is even better than volume 2, and I love volume 2. So Yeah, it's just it's you know, it's the movies that we grew up loving, those 80s movies, but with a 90s comic, you know, slickness to it.
Yep.
You know, what I think is really cool about that kind of concept of the nostalgia concept is that there's so much staleness to entertainment today. Movies are stale, no good ideas out there. Everybody's rebooting something or remaking something. And you know, granted, I grew up in the 90s. That's where I spent most of my teenage years and early teen and all that stuff. And I think that the 80s and 90s had really great movies. You know, action movies were awesome, cool slasher movies, horror movies, you know, drama. Comedy was great in the 90s.
People took chances.
Exactly.
That's what it was.
It was an era where the people just did what they wanted to. They took chances and threw it out there. And it was the same thing in comics back then. And I think that tapping back into that now in 2020 in this era where things are really stale in general across the board and the big two comic books, and you know, I'm not insulting any creators or any business or any companies out there. I'm just saying just what it is. You know, it's when I read a comic book, there's only a few comic books I've read over the last 5 years, I'd say, that really gave me that feel of when I was a kid, where I was excited that the book came out and I wanted to read it and I wanted to lose myself in the art. And I think what you guys are doing is bringing that back. And I think it's awesome that you tap into that, because I think there's a longing and a need and a want for the reader to be given a product that is along those lines. And I think that you should keep on doing that. That's what I'm doing in my book. I know Sean's going to do the same thing. You know, we're trying to bring that kind of excitement back. And I think if the big two isn't going to do it, then the indie level needs to do it. And, you know, let's go for it. So I'm fully on board with that kind of concept.
Because that's where the hunger's at, is the indie scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like anyone who, you know, didn't live through the 90s and experienced like going to the comic shop to pick up your comics or going to a comic convention back in the 90s, you missed out on. Don't believe what you've heard. The 90s was the greatest time for me as a fan. It was magical. There were so many new indie books and creators. I mean, they were rock stars. How many today's current crop of, you know, comic book artists would you call a rock star? The people we're calling rock stars are the people that we grew up on from the 90s. They're still our stars. But like the current crop, nah, they just don't do it for me. And even the excitement from the publishers, I don't even feel like they're excited about their work they're putting out.
Right. Yeah. Well, a lot of it's so politically driven and stuff these days. You know, it ruins a lot of stuff. Like when you try to, Mark, when you were on, I asked you a question, like, when you're a writer, do you put yourself and your ideals and what you believe in real life into the characters you write, or do you try to write those characters the way they're meant to be written and carry on those stories? And you know, you answered the correct way, because I know who you are and how you like to write. You know, you take that character and you build on it based on what that character is. You don't try to make Superman politically, you know, a social justice warrior version of you. You know. And I think that's the thing that really drives a lot of people away. And when you look at, you know, the indie scene, or you look at the 90s, I mean, there's been politics in comic books going way back. So, I mean, I'm not saying that there hasn't been, but it was just done differently back then. It wasn't rammed down your throat or preaching a narrative, you know.
It wasn't one-sided.
It wasn't one-sided. Thank you. Yeah, that's a really good way to say that, you know. I mean, and there were really good stories that were written back then, you know.
Yeah, I don't think the talent level's on the level of a Denny O'Neil and a Neil Adams either.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fantastic artists right now, younger artists, you know, that I follow and everything. But there's a definite, because I don't want to say this and insult any of the really young, talented artists that are out here today, but there is, like you said, there's no rock stars, there's no superstars. They're just bringing eyes to the book, and no matter where they go, they are just bringing readers, you know, left and right. And you had that. The last big era that I remember was the 90s, you know, the 80s, the 70s, 80s, 90s. You had the big names coming down. And it pretty much, in my opinion, ended with like the Image Boys when they left, you know, and then they spawned a bunch of artists from Image that still are drawing today and doing fantastic stuff. But that was like the end of the era for the superstar artists, because then I feel like the artist was buried from that point on.
Purposely.
Purposely, because they never wanted to have a rebellion and have a flock of people leave a giant company again, you know. And I think that's hurt the artistic aspect of the visual that is comic books, you know. And it saddens me, because I think that there's some artists, if you kept them on books today and you let them do a long run of that book and really grow with the audience, that you could have that again. But they don't. So go to the indie scene. That's my point. Go to the fucking indie scene and enjoy yourself.
The last time I was really excited about comics that had the kind of energy and art that I liked was Awesome Comics from LIFO.
Oh yeah, Awesome was awesome.
Fighting American, Rejects. The Coven was my jam. That was Ian Churchill back then. Man, nobody could have beat him at that time. I thought that if I could get that in a trade, I'd die a happy man. But all those books I think from Awesome were Scarlet Crush, John Stinsman's book. That was awesome, no pun intended. But I mean, that was the last time that I feverishly would go into a comic book store and go, "Is it here yet?" You know, ever since then, it's just been like, oh, what's on the shelf? Well, that looks kind of okay. I guess I'll buy that out of habit. You know, I mean, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Can I touch on Marco's comment that he left?
Yeah. I was gonna say I dropped it out here, but yeah.
Yeah. So
what's the story behind that?
There was this comic book convention in the 90s that was held in the basement of a church, and I went to it, and it was an amazing convention. I met the Ortiz brothers who did Arachnus.
Arachnus oh man, love that.
Yeah,
book.
I met Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti who had just released Ash. I met Hone Nugent, who had just put out Metal Militia. So I met all these great people, and it turns out, who else was there? Sean was there as a fan. Marco was there, and Derek Ruiz. I don't know if you're familiar with Derek, but he's worked in the industry for years for Dobble Brothers and other publishers. He works a lot with Brett Booth. But yeah, all four of us were there. As the story goes on, more and more people say they were there too. So it was this legendary convention.
That's awesome.
I have a picture, not from the church, but you mentioned meeting Jimmy Palmiotti and Joe Quesada during the Ash. I actually met them at a Chicago show, and you can tell it's a really old picture because all three of us have one chin.
Yeah. The good old days of youth. slimmer days.
And hair.
Yeah, I know, man. I feel you. Mine's going away too. That's awesome that you mentioned Arachnus, because that was a book that was one of those indie books that you just saw on the shelves. It was really good art. You know, I don't know how many. Yeah, you know, but it was cool looking character. I don't know how many books they did of it. I've got, I think, 5 issues that I was able to find over the years, because 4 maybe, something like that.
Like 1 or 2 0 issues, I think.
I think
I got them though.
I have all the issues. I think there's a 0 and 1 through 4, and then a number 1 with a new company. But they were changing publishers like every month, it seemed like.
Right. Yeah.
I think Mushroom was the last publisher.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's just that it's funny you brought that up, because I haven't thought about that book for a while, but that was a book that I really liked. Again, you know, it's going to the comic book store like you were talking about in the 90s it was an exciting trip, because there was so much stuff. Obviously, the image boom was going on. Marvel was still producing really awesome comics. You know, DC was going through and killing Superman and breaking Batman's back. There's a lot of excitement. And then the indie books like Arachnus or She, Zen, was that Galactic Ninja or something.
Intergalactic Ninja, yeah.
Intergalactic Ninja. You know, I mean, just books like that were out. You know, it's just it really makes me sad when I think about it, because when I go to the comic book shop now, it's like I'm in there for like 10 minutes. So I usually go and get my pull list, which is like the latest Greg Capullo or Brett Booth stuff. Yeah. And, you know, I might cruise the aisles and look at a few things, but it's just like nothing, no covers interest me. Nothing's drawing me in. Yeah. And then I'm walk out the door. You know, it's.
Well, that's the great thing of Indiegogo now. That's it's going on Indiegogo and going through their comics section is almost like stepping into a comic shop in the 90s, because there's all these fresh characters. And people are doing cool stuff like chromium covers, and you know, like I said, we're bringing back all the stuff we loved as kids because no one else is doing it.
Bringing the fun back.
Yeah.
Somehow the fun of the 90s became taboo, and it's like, I don't know, I can't think of a good analogy for it, but it's just like, you know, you go to high school with like the guy that's like a super partier, fun guy, rocker, and then like you meet him like at your 20-year reunion and he's a librarian, you know, and he's just very, you know, it's like that's kind of what happened to the comic industry. It's like the comic industry doesn't need to grow up like an adult does, you know. It doesn't need to be all serious and pander and be polite and ooh, would you like a mint on a you know, and none of that stuff. It's supposed to be pow, bang, in your face, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And that's... it is kind of cool when you go to the Indiegogo page and whatever you look up, whether it's, you know, like Cyberfrog or something, or, you know, any of these campaigns, and they usually give you like the recommendations or whatever. And you can just go through that. And a lot of it is, you know, regardless of whatever anybody feels about Comicscape, a lot of them are like Comicscape books are like associated with it. But the quality in art and the coolness of characters does give you that excitement when you see that kind of stuff. And you can go through and you can see like Shinobi Sasquatch, Ballabrick Road, what is that thing that, go ahead. Something that
Starblades.
That, you know, I mean, that book, just when you just look at it, throw away whoever it's associated with, you know, just look at the quality of art of the books, you know. I mean, that is definitely where the excitement is, and that's where my attention is right now is the indie scene. Like I said, I'll always collect Greg Capullo and Brett Booth, and, you know, some of my, you know, Rob Liefeld's going to come out with Snake Eyes, you know, I'm definitely going to buy that stuff, you know. But right now my attention is really, and my support is really in the indie scene, because that's where the energy and the excitement is. So I'm all on board for supporting, you know, you guys, Sean. You know, I'm going to jump in the fray myself and do my thing.
Yeah, which looks great.
Thank you, appreciate it.
I think the mainstream audience came at us and came at the people who are in Comicsgate and said, "Put up or shut up," you know. And we put up big. I mean, every single campaign, you know, is $25K plus, you know. I mean, Ethan just reached $1 million.
Oh,
you know, and it's not even a multiple campaign like Cyberfrog Blood Honey was, and that reached $1 million. But he did it with multiple covers. This was one shot, one campaign, $1 million. And I think they always talk about how like the comic industry is shrinking. I think what it is it's shrinking away from mainstream comics, and I think it's going to be, I think the indie scene is going to be comics. You know, I think, you know, these big corporations that own like Marvel, DC, they don't get it anymore. They're suits. They haven't gotten it in a really long time. But I think the comic scene that's going to go forward is going to be the crowdfunding, the indie scene. It's going to be us. We're going to carry it forward. And then the people that come up behind us are going to carry that on and maybe make it into something different. But I don't know. I can't get excited about characters anymore from the big two. I get excited about artists, but they shut them down so quickly after, like you said, they don't let them do long runs, Yeah. You get like, what was it? Like Mark Silvestri did like 2.5 issues of Incredible Hulk a couple of years ago and didn't even finish that, and then they rotated. I don't know. You can't just you got to finish a storyline.
Right. Yeah.
With one artist. I'm sorry. It just.
Well, you need to have a little bit more exciting art. Again, I'm not trying to insult any of the artists out there because you're working in the business and you're probably living your dream, and that's great. I'm very proud or excited for you for that. But the art that I liked was exciting art, detailed art, action style, and there's not a lot of artists nowadays that are really trying to do that. A lot of it's, again, I just, whatever. I'm sure I'm going to insult somebody when I say this, and I'm not trying to. It's just my own personal view that there's so many artists out there that just kind of get through the book, or maybe the writer, is dictating too much. I don't know, but a lot of the dynamic shots, the dynamic angles, the cool page layouts that Mike, you and I talk about all the time, that kind of stuff. You don't see a lot of it in a lot of the younger artists or books or companies that are more controlled. I mean, some of the older guys, they're still doing their stuff and killing it. That's like the only way I can get that, fulfill that hunger is to read their books. But I haven't ever get anybody else's books. I really haven't. I've tried.
You can be a competent draftsman. You can be good at your craft. You can be professional quality. But if there's no excitement, I mean, let's go back to, let's say, the 90s.
Thanks, Tom.
Or the late 80s, where people were like, Spider-Man should look like how John Romita Sr. drew him. That's fine. It's competent. It's well done. Everything's in the place it needs to be. But then you get a guy like McFarlane come along and slaps it upside its face, tweaks it, triples the amount of webbing on the suit, triples the size of the eyes, triples the amount of webs that he has. I mean, people don't want to leave a mark anymore. They just want to do the job. They want to collect the paycheck, and they want to go about their business. Nobody wants to take a risk. Nobody wants to add to the legacy of a character anymore. I mean, it's just today's version of leaving a legacy on a character is by completely changing a character. Like there was an interview somewhere where they were talking about how the big uproar about making Thor a woman. And they're like, well, it's for the female readers. And it's like, they made the point that the female readers that were buying Thor was for the male Thor because he is that masculine, what's the word I'm looking for? Ideal. He's the idealized masculine fantasy. He's Fabio on a romance novel. And, but I mean, that wasn't done for. It's different. I don't know how to explain it. I'm sure somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, he's misogynist." My wife's a feminist, so that's probably not possible. But I think there's a difference in the artists we grew up on leaving a mark. Liefeld came in on New Mutants. It was dying. It was already dead. And he put the paddles to it and resurrected that book, turned it into X-Force. Everybody gives him crap about the big hair dryer guns. Nobody had. If you were there at the time that book came out, you never saw somebody draw a gun like that. You saw realistic guns or guns that were in sci-fi shows. You didn't see the over-the-top, the bigger-than-life stuff. You'd never seen it before. Looking back now, it's fine. It's kind of like how the older you get desensitized to stuff. Like horror movies probably don't scare you as much as they did when I was a kid, you know? And I think some of us still have that excitement when we see stuff like that. And I think there's a lot of us. There's a lot more of us than I think we thought. And that's the crowd that's coming. to the indie scene is those guys are like, I want the big hair dryer gun, I want the big shoulder pads. I'm gonna tell you this, guys. It's the only secret I'm gonna give about Volume 3. Pouches, straps, bandoliers, lots of guns, lots of shell casings. It's gonna be nuts. So far, Volume 3 will be the most 90s of the books we've done so far.
Sounds awesome.
In my opinion.
Just got to get there now. See, I'm so excited about Volumes 2 and 3, and now I got to sit there and wait.
Not long. Not long.
So that's right. The one good thing with USAssassin, we always sort of tease the next volume at the end of whatever volume you're reading. So when you get to the end of Volume 1, you'll figure out who's the villain for Volume 2. And when you get to the end of Volume 2, your jaw's gonna like hit the floor, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be epic!" So
that was my reaction when I read it. I was like, "Really?" I was very excited.
That was a good cliffhanger for the end of 1. I liked how you guys do that because it does. I mean, that's kind of the way it should be, Superhero action comics, their pulp storytelling, everything should be dynamic or over the top, especially considering the stuff Kirby did. Yeah, and the trippy stuff Rinko and I'm horrible at, and Ditko did. I love MG, YA art for those books, but it doesn't work on superhero comics. I just butchered through that. But yeah, I would completely agree. I mean, just those names alone and the names you had back in the day.
Yeah.
I was spoiled because I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, and there was just hellified talent during that time. That's what inspired me to want to break into the business and do this.
And styles were started to be the 90s. You could have a radically different style. A lot of people glommed onto the Jim Lee style, but then you had your Liefelds, your Larsons, your McFarlanes, and then you got like guys like Ladron, who did Cable during the 90s. He was a throwback to Kirby, but like a modern version of it. Everybody went nuts for that.
Then you had styles like Jay Lee. Really crazy, just dark style that he put on everything, but it looked cool.
Looked like he murdered a crow quill on every page. I mean, that's what it looked like. It was like that line looks like the crow quill was screaming because I mean everything was just like just this mad energy, frenetic. It was awesome, and you will not see that out of the big two nowadays. There's no way they would take a chance on a style like that.
Yeah, no.
Everything's cookie cutter.
That is true. Well, one thing that's not cookie cutter, and that's USAssassin.
That's right.
That's one thing that these two guys will be able to promise to you going forward. So I know we've just gone over the hour mark, so thank you for everybody joining us. It's been a really fun conversation with these guys. It's a last-minute thing. We decided to do this, so everybody that tuned in, thank you so much for doing it. But before we get out of here, let's one more time, for anybody that hasn't been with us for the entire hour and 8 minutes here, go ahead and plug everything you guys got to plug about this campaign dropping tomorrow. And let's get people excited, and let's hit this thing running tomorrow.
Sure. USAssassin launches tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern on Indiegogo. It's $25, 80-page book. It's a throwback to great action films of the 80s, American Ninja, Rambo, Commando, but with a 90s slick comic style to it. It's about a retired government super agent, Joe Knight, takes a job with a private security firm. He's hired to train their latest advance in security, which is super metas. And on their first mission, they turn on him. And he has to come out of retirement, become the USAssassin one last time. It's great. It's, shoot 'em up, 80s action, 90s style art. I mean, you can see it right there. Mike is a fantastic artist, one of my favorite people to work with.
That's an awesome picture.
And, Mike, whatever you'd like to add.
Everything that you said, but about you. And I just have one thing to ask everybody out there. Are you ready? You better be. It's coming.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Indiegogo tomorrow at 6 p.m. U.S. Assassins. Only 300 copies. So get in there early and get it. And all the other stuff that they have on that campaign, check it out. Sounds like it's going to be awesome. I will do my best to jump in there before all the copies are gone. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. Thank you, Mark and Mike, for coming on. And this was really fun. We'll definitely have to do it again. Maybe we'll even do an updated show here when the campaign gets rolling, and we'll see how everything's going, or maybe when you guys fulfill it and then everything gets sold out, or definitely when you guys get ready to do book 2. I'd love to have you guys both on again.
Oh, yeah.
And at that point, we'll probably have Sean on. By the way, Sean will be coming back here in a few weeks, so just an update on him. So that's getting closer and closer. Until then, Mike will be filling in as co-host of the Ott and Stuff Show on Friday.
I'll be here tomorrow.
Tomorrow night, we have TJ Sterling on. It's going to be really fun. That's going to be a good conversation with him, so we're looking forward to it. But we won't keep anybody up longer than you have to be. Tom Carter says, looks amazing. Thank you, Tomic. Hopefully you support it tomorrow.
That's
so,
right.
All right, everyone. Real quick. You guys want to say where you can find any of your guys' work? Plug your pages real quick before we get out of here.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Coney Waves. That was the name of my first book. Mike's pointing to his.
Yes, Mike McMahon 74 on Twitter. Mike McMahon on YouTube, I believe, and then m.p.mcmahon art on Instagram. And there is a US Assassin fan page on Facebook.
Awesome. You can find me on any of the social media sites. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. All right, you sexy people out there, and ladies, sexy ladies. We will talk to you all later. Have a great night. Peace.
See you.